Developments out of Michigan. We're learning one of the men accused of plotting to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer received a pardon from Delaware's governor last year for crimes dating back to 1994. This man, Barry Croft Jr., is one of 6 men facing federal charges in the investigation. Federal authorities say he and others had rehearsed the kidnapping several times. Croft served time in prison in the 90s for illegal possession of a firearm. He's currently being held in jail in Wilmington. A court hearing is set for Tuesday to see if he'll be extradited to Michigan. The foiled kidnapping plot and recent protests have brought militias into the spotlight, and tonight we're taking a deeper look at the history of militias in Michigan and where they stand now.
Why do you guys all have Hawaiian shirts on? Just a shirt.
This is Adam Fox, one of the suspected terrorists accused of plotting to overthrow the government and law enforcement, attack Michigan's Capitol building, and kidnap the governor. This was July 18th when Fox, who investigators say was the ringleader of the operation, told our NewsNation station in Michigan that he was in Lansing to promote the importance of a well-regulated militia. FBI agents say this very day he and 2 others in the group were plotting. Also in the group, 26-year-old Joseph Morrison and his roommate, 42-year-old Pete Musico.
Oh, it's summertime.
That doesn't mean anything.
No, not that I know of. What does it mean?
Hawaiian shirts are a trademark of the Boogaloo movement. According to the Anti-Defamation League, the anti-police movement started gaining traction in 2019, and its believers predict a civil war over gun rights. They are often at anti-lockdown rallies and Black Lives Matter protests. Prosecutors say the accused conspirators are associated with the extremist group the Wolverine Watchmen, formed last year with the help of social media, according to investigators.
We think that it's a new group that formed specifically in response to the pandemic and to Governor Whitmer's response to some of the state regulations.
Amy COOTER is a senior lecturer at Vanderbilt University and an expert on Michigan militias.
Some of the events that we're at, we don't really actually don't even agree with, but as constitutionalists, you have the right to protest as long as you're peaceful.
The FBI says twin brothers Michael and William NULL, who spoke to our NewsNation station in July, the same time they were allegedly plotting the kidnapping, have ties to another militia group, the Michigan Liberty Militia, who call themselves peacekeepers out to preserve and protect the rights of citizens.
We are approachable people. If you don't understand what we're doing, come ask us questions. Come talk to us. Come get to know us. Don't judge us by the way we look or by the weapons we're carrying. Come talk to us, get to know us, and I guarantee you'll change your mind about us.
Phil Robinson is a member.
People calling me a white supremacist and a Nazi, and you know, there's gonna be people out there believing that.
Back up! Back up!
He and other members of the group showed up to the state capitol protesting the governor's stay-at-home order, and then again in Grand Rapids. More recently, the militia members have been making a new name for themselves by showing up for a number of different movements, serving as security, usually at the request of protest organizers.
It's to keep the peace, it's to keep everybody safe.
The history of militia groups in Michigan goes back to the mid-90s. The year before they carried out the Oklahoma City Federal Building bombing, Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh attended a Michigan militia meeting. Over the years, police, prosecutors, and civil rights groups have kept a close watch on them, sometimes with limited success. In 2010, several members of the Hutari militia in the Midwest were charged with plotting a violent revolt involving the murder of police officers and civilians, but the group was eventually exonerated of the most serious charges. Despite their rhetoric and heavily armed presence at anti-government rallies and other protests, COOTER says her research has shown that 90% of members are nonviolent, and the FBI used at least one undercover informant to foil the kidnapping plot.
They're law-abiding citizens, many of whom kind of view this as a hobby, but also do think it is their personal responsibility to be prepared to defend themselves, their families, their communities.
This is a plot that would have made ISIS proud.
But Robert PAPE, a professor of political science and the director of the Chicago Project on Security and Threats at the University of Chicago, says the kidnapping plot is a classic case of terrorism and that violence in the country could get worse.
Given the environment that we're in, and given what we're already seeing with respect to political violence, it only makes common sense to prepare that this will go on and get possibly worse between now and January, when the election results are certified.
And I did just hear back from the group, the Michigan Militia Corps Wolverines, who said, quote, MMCW is one of many militia groups within the state of Michigan, and we are not associated with nor condone the actions of the Wolverine Watchmen.